Today's subject that the Lord brings to us is, how do you live? It's a very important subject to the believer because how we live our lives is usually in direct proportion to how we see life. If we see life as positive, we tend to live more positive. If we go through life with a more of a negative attitude, we seem to live our life in a more negative attitude. Galatians chapter 2 and verse 20 this morning, Paul writes a powerful verse here because we have to remember the Apostle Paul was a believer in God. He grew up in a strict, law-driven type society where he believed in God the Father. He really did. And when Christianity came and Jesus Christ came, he rebelled against that because he thought it came against what he had always been taught. But when Jesus Christ saved his soul, he changed Paul's life. And that's the mission that Paul had throughout the rest of his life, was to just tell people how Jesus Christ had changed his life, how he didn't look at things the same, he didn't live the same, he didn't speak the same. Everything in his life became different. And in Galatians chapter 2 and verse number 20 this morning, this is what he says. He says, I am crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live. Yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. That's a powerful verse this morning. As we gather here this morning, I don't want us to go through the motions of just being what we call a Christian. It is time that the Christian church begin to live our lives morning, noon, and night, crucified with Christ, allowing the fact that Christ lives in us. Now listen, mentally walk yourself through a normal day in your life. Now, be real honest when you do. And ask yourself this question: how much of my day really includes the Lord? See, I believe most believers would love to involve Jesus in their lives more. If you're listening this morning to this devotion, it must be for a reason. Obviously, you desire to at least begin your day with thoughts of Christ. But I'm here to tell you this morning, a 5-minute devotion by itself will never get you to the place you need to be. Sadly, how we want to live and how we actually live are not always the same thing. Most people live life in one of 3 ways. They live it for themselves, they live it for others, or they live it for God. And when you live it for God, that often includes others. But Paul says some things here that is kind of a formula to changing how you live. I want to share it with you this morning and then pray a blessing over you. First, he basically says you can't live for Jesus and yourself at the same time. 3 times he says, I live. And it all began when he realized that Christ lived in him. And Christ lives in you if you are truly a believer in Jesus Christ. And even though he still lived in his body, he said, I now live it by faith. This verse even inspired a saying that you've seen on license plate tags and things like that says basically this: he died for me, I live for him. So how are you living today? Are you living for yourself? Are you living your life just through someone else? Are you really living for Jesus? Now, how you answer that is usually in direct proportion to how you live your life and how you view your life. So today, live for Jesus. Wrap him up in every thought that you have, every decision you make. I believe it's time that the church stop trying to build Jesus around their life and begin to build our lives around Jesus. I pray that blessing over you today, that you would be safe, be strong, and be blessed. Take a little time and spend a little time with Jesus more and more every day. I pray for that inner strength to let go of self. Let go of always trying to please somebody else. And just give your life to Jesus. You've already given your soul. Maybe it's time you give your life to Jesus. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. Pray you have a great day today. Amen.